Somebody's missing. That's okay. Sit comfortably. Try to figure out who it is. Janet.
Oh,
Janet.
yeah. Do I need to move in case she comes in, or?
No. There's room there if she does. I know she will.
I can move up too.
We're good. See? So there is room for another
Yeah.
person. So sit comfortably. Let yourself, if you're needing a blanket to sit on, grab one. Same thing at home. If your hips bother you, support underneath your knees if you want to try sitting cross-legged, but if that bothers you, stretch your legs out. And if you're in your chair, get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. It is Monday, forgot to say, the 26th of April. This is gentle, so if you're at home, get comfortable, close your eyes, and let yourself just easily bring your awareness to your breath now. So just watch your breath in and out through your nose. Just feeling the breath easily coming in. Imagine that it's coming in equally through both sides of your nose. Gradually starting to feel the breath come into your belly, letting the belly just gently expand as you breathe in. And if you're comfortable to come into deeper breaths, you can head into those three-part breaths, inhaling into your belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. Start to add a little bit of movement to the breath. Let your exhales bring you a little forward and your inhales bring you back up. It doesn't have to be far. Think of keeping your back nice and long so that you don't feel like you're rounding forward from the upper back, folding forward that way. But instead, you're keeping that length of your own spine. Just feeling the exhales bring you forward and the inhales bring you back up. And the next time that you end up back upright, let yourself stay there. We'll let our arms then release on out beside us, and we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now let's bring our right arm forward. We're going to make one big arm circle with our right arm. Let it come forward and up and then as far back behind you as you can. And then once it comes down, we'll switch to the other arm. So letting your left arm come up and over, and then again letting it come down as far as you can back behind you. Now let's go to the right side again. This time, as your arm comes up and over the top, then see if you can turn a little bit into a little twist as the arm circles back behind you, and then come on back around into center, and we'll go to the other side. So that the left arm comes up and over, and then turn a little bit into that twist as it reaches back behind you. And then bring yourself on back into center again. And let's inhale both arms all the way out from the shoulders. Flex our hands and bend our elbows a little bit here, and then press out into the heels of our hands, feeling the undersides of the arms. And then one more time, bringing the hands in and then letting yourself, as you press, imagine you're pressing equally. Good. And then let your arms release on down. Shake out your hands just a little bit. We're gonna switch the cross of our legs. If you're cross-legged, bring your other leg in front, stretch out between sides if you need to. And then come on back to sitting, hands lengthening up. Arms on out beside us again here now. So let yourself take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're gonna twist to our right. So bring your left hand around, maybe to your right knee, maybe to the midline. Let yourself come on around. And now once you're in the twist here, let's inhale the back, the right arm all the way up overhead. So if you can, let that arm come up. And then lean a little over to the side. So you come into side stretch for that right side of the body. So just letting yourself breathe into the right ribs. And then we're going to rise on back up. We're going to lower that arm down. Stay in your twist if you can. You might even want to turn a little bit to look more behind yourself. One more inhale. And as you exhale, unwind back into center. Take a breath here at center. Now feel your feet in the floor. Whatever part of your feet are touching, press them down a little bit. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So coming around to the left, and again, that right hand can be on your left knee or to the midline. And then we'll inhale that back left arm up. And again, you're just going to lean over a little bit. Now, how far you go is up to you. Just breathing into that whole left side of the body, feeling the ribs expanding. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to lower the arm down into the twist again. So again, if you want to look a little farther back, by all means do. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you on back around into center. Once you're here, take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Feel your tailbone curling forward, rounding into your back a little bit. And then when you inhale, send your tailbone, sits bones down, roll on back up into sitting nice and tall. And let your arms now come on behind you, whether you're in your chair, draping your arms over the back, or fingertips or hands on the floor behind you. Let yourself just open through the chest here. And look wherever's comfortable. Forward if that's better, up a little bit if that feels good, or all the way up to the ceiling, depending on you, and you know that. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. And from here, let's all stretch our legs out in front of us. So whether you're in a chair or on the floor, stretch your legs out. And let your feet come a little farther apart, right? So if you're on your mat, maybe towards the corners of the front corners of your mat there. And then just flex and point your feet a little bit. You're more than welcome to have your hands behind you if you need to support yourself a little bit. And then let the feet circle. Now you can go the same direction or the opposite, but see if you can keep your legs really still, right? So it's really the feet and the ankles that you're isolating there. So the tendency might be to let your legs do this, right? See if you can really stay still and really isolate there. Good. And then finish off. And then we'll let ourselves release. We're going to come on around towards our hands and knees from here. So if you need to do anything, stretch out or do anything with your legs first, do it. And if you need a blanket, grab it for under your knees. So if you're on the hard floor and it feels uncomfortable, be nice to your knees. Grab a blanket. And you can be up on your feet with your hands on the seat of a chair, or you can go down to your forearms if your wrists bother you. Or you can come to fists. But start to just draw up into that cat pose. Feel your navel drawing towards your spine. Let your tailbone drop down. And then when you inhale, send your tailbone back and up so the belly sinks, the ribs will sink down. You may decide to stay looking down between your hands, or you might want to look forward. So take your time now. Start to ease your way through your back. So be mindful if you have some really tight, kind of sore feeling places. Do what you need to do. Stay in cat or cow if you need to, or move slower or faster if that feels better, really, to find that sense of flowing through the back. So just to picture your spine, what it's doing right now. pretty amazing the way our spines are built to enable us to have this kind of flexibility. We'll finish off the one we're on and come to more neutral spine. And we're going to bring ourselves into lunge. Left foot forward and right foot back. So feel free in these lunges to be supported however you want. So your hands can be up higher on a chair back or a chair seat, or you can have your hands on blocks. Remember, if you're using the blocks, have them on your mat so that they're underneath your shoulders, whether you're on fists with your hands or fingertips or flat hands, but so that you can have a little bit of support, but you don't have your shoulders at that angle, right? They're right underneath you there. And from here, we are going to switch and go to the other side. So, you know, how you switch in from your lunge to lunge, totally up to you. Just be mindful now. Start to really enjoy feeling the length through the back body in your lunge and the alignment of your front knee, so you're not putting too much pressure on your knee. It bends no farther forward than your ankle. And we are going to switch legs again. So once you find your alignment in your lunge, if it feels good to come a little more into your legs and hips by lifting your left hand or forearm up, you can. I mean, it is totally up to you whether you feel good to do that or not. And we are going to switch one more time. So again, once you get that alignment, where you feel comfortable, you can decide if the right hand or forearm coming up sounds like a good idea to you. And we are going to step forward into standing forward bend from here. So getting those feet hips distance apart and parallel. Take your time. Hands can be supporting you. Forearms can be supporting you. You can let yourself walk a little bit in your forward bend by bending a knee at a time. Just let it feel good. And see if you can also just let your head move around a little bit. Just turn your head a little side to side. And feel the weight of your head and that sense of really letting go through your face, your jaw. Just watch your breath. Once you get pretty easy about how you're distributed evenly between your feet there, let yourself just come into watching your breaths all the way in and all the way out. And from here, we're going to let ourselves bend our knees a little deeper, bring our hands up to our hips, and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose, and if that means you need to adjust a little bit, do. Get yourself really feeling good about how you're standing, right? How far apart your feet are. For most of us, about a fist or a fist and a half between our feet, and hip pointer bones kind of lined up towards the center of the feet if you can. And then as your hands come gently together, actually bring your chin down towards your chest and look at your hands for a second. And let them be just where they're easy to be there, right? So the thumbs kind of come in towards the breastbone, but there's no right or wrong place. And then separate your pointer fingers just a little bit. And then let them softly reconnect. And then middle fingers come a little bit apart. And then they're going to reconnect. And then your ring fingers are going to separate a little. And then really feel that connection when they come back together. And now your pinkies a little bit apart. And then enjoy reconnecting there. And your thumbs a little bit too. And then let yourself release back here. And now as you feel your feet in the floor, start to just rise the head on up, feeling the crown of the head reaching up towards the ceiling. Finding that place for your head where now it's just up there and it's floating on top of the spine. You can feel very strongly based through your feet. So feeling the feet in the floor, feeling the hands gently together, and letting yourself just kind of stack up, hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Enjoying that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. And as we now unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend the knees and come on forward into that standing forward bend. Now you know, once you get into your forward bend, use what support you need. And let your next inhale help you find a flat back. Whether your hands go to your shins, or to your blocks, or to your chair. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself really find your whole body here in your lunge. Press your feet just a little bit away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat. Good, and we're going to come on into downward facing dog pose. So reaching back now equally through your sitting bones. And just imagine too, your tailbone is reaching right back behind you. So you have all this space in your spine. It doesn't matter how high up your hands are. Knees can be bent too, but focus on that sense of having a nice long spine. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. Now you know you don't have to do a full plank. You can go to forearms, you can put your knees down, let yourself get to where you're able to be and find a little bit of strength there in the belly, the low back, and the hips. And from here, we'll make our way back again into down dog. So adjusting how you need as you come from plank to dog. Let your elbows softly hug towards each other. Feel that sense of the armpits now, kind of hollowing out a little bit. And we will bring the right foot forward to come into lunge from here. And you know, however you need to get there. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend after completing our first sun salutation. So be mindful, let yourself feel the weight of your head, use whatever support you need. Following your breaths now. Let your awareness follow your breaths all the way in, all the way out. Even enjoy those little spaces between your breaths. So it's like you get to what you think is the end of your inhale and you feel that little pause, that little space before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales. You get to where you think is the end and you feel this little pause before you inhale. One more breath. And we'll let our hands come up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise straight on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms as you fold forward into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find that flat back. Again, wherever you want support to find that nice long back. And this time, left foot steps back to come into lunge. So again, really find your lunge there. Feel your shoulders drawing down away from your ears. If you can feel the feet gently pressing away from each other like you're trying to make your mat a little bit longer, you can come into the hips a little more. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So you know, as you come into your dog, it's not important whether your hands are up on blocks or the chair or down on the floor. It'll change the look of the pose, but you're still really focused on the length of your spine. Of course, you're going to get a stretch in the backs of your legs, your hamstrings, right? Think of your whole body in this pose right here. I mean, everything is working. Nice stretch. We're going to come on out towards a plank. And again, it is totally optional how you do your plank. Come to half, go to your forearms, do little push-ups if you want to, if you like to bend your elbows. And Let your elbows come in towards your ribs. You can come a little more into your arms, into your shoulders. And then we'll come on back into down dog. And again, ease your way there. And we will bring our left foot forward this time. So if you need to put your right knee down to get that left foot forward for your lunge, do. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. And again, just be mindful. If you're okay to let your hands just hold on to your own elbows there, if that's not too much of like a loading of your low back, you can do that. Otherwise, of course, use support. Don't put yourself into a position where your back doesn't feel good, right? I mean, you want to feel a stretch in this pose, but you don't want it to feel uncomfortable at all. So nice full breaths. Think of letting your face relax and your jaw. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips and rise on up to standing. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms beside us. And let's inhale just the right arm all the way out and up. And bend your elbow. Now, your hand might come behind your head. Maybe it'll come behind your neck or to your upper back. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. And if you want a little more, you can bring your left arm over the top and hold on to your elbow there. If that's too much, don't do it. Another way you can stretch a little more is to put your left hand in front of that right upper arm and just kind of encourage it, elbow upward a little bit. Don't force anything. One more breath. And now we're going to extend the right arm up and the left arm's going to come down beside us. Now let your right hand turn to where the fingertips face to the midline of the body there, and then press up into the heel of your hand. And we're going to come over into side stretch. Keep pressing up so your hand is really flexed, and you're really pressing into the heel of that hand. Now feel your right foot on the floor. Really let yourself enjoy one more breath. And then we're going to rise on up. Now we're going to lower the right arm down, and the left arm's going to come right on up. And we're going to bend that left elbow once it's there. Again, this is totally optional. You don't have to bring anything else into play. If you want to bring the right arm over and hold on, you can. Again, you may decide not to. You may decide you want to try just putting your hand in front, or you may not want to do any of that, right? So one more breath. And now we're going to extend the left arm up, lower the right arm down. And from here, turn your hand again the other way so you can press up into the heel of the hand. And then come over into that side stretch. Now, if you can, really feel your left foot on the floor. Press down into your left foot. Feel a little more pressure up into the heel of the hand. A little more in the sideways. It's a great side stretch. And then we're going to rise on up. We're going to lower our arms on down. We're going to clasp our hands behind us and take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to bend our knees and fall forward. Now, you might want to stay up, more parallel to the floor, even higher. You know, depends on you. Think about, if you can, if you're parallel to the floor, send your tailbone back. You have a little bit of natural curve in your low back. Now, you can fold all the way over your legs if you want. I mean, you take your time. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If you want to release your arms off your back, feel free to do that too. So be mindful, let it feel good. You're not trying to bring any kind of discomfort into your shoulders, trying to find a little openness. And then we're going to release the arms all the way on down. And on your next inhale, lengthen out your spine. And we're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose. So your hands go the height you like to use for your down dog. And then you walk your way on back. Spread your fingers out. Feel your elbows hugging in a little bit. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank. Now, you can add a back bend or not. That is totally up to you. You can come into a Sphinx on the floor on your forearms, or you can do a little cobra or an up dog. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Remember, optional are these back bends. Walk a little bit if you want. We are going to do the same thing. We're going to come on back out. And again, it is totally optional whether you add a back bend here or not. You don't need to. You can if you choose. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. From here, we'll bring the right foot forward. And you remember, put your left knee down if you need to help you get there. And then we'll come all the way back again into our standing forward bend. Right to your breath and right to whatever support you want. Now if you can, let your knees soften a little bit and imagine you're pressing your feet into the floor like you're pushing the floor away from you with your feet. Easy breaths. And we'll let our hands now come on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain pose. If you need to adjust a little bit, do. Take your time. Really get comfortable how far apart your feet are. If you need to look at them, do. Spread your fingers a little bit. Feel that connection in your hands. And feel the feet in the floor. And again, just enjoy that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. Once you're aligned, it's really easy. And then we'll let our arms unfold on down beside us. Shake everything out and walk around too if you need to. Move through your feet and your ankles if you need to. And we're going to come into some warriors. So if you're using your chair, you might want to turn it around, but also have your blocks handy so that you need them. Like you'll be able to reach and get them. We're going to come into warrior one first. So we'll step towards the front of the mat, and then we'll step our right foot back, keeping the shoulders square towards the front of the mat. And getting this alignment of this back foot so that you feel fine in your knee, your foot, your ankle, your hip. So there's a little bit of a turnout, but the foot is fully on the floor and the left knee is bent. So not farther forward than your toes. If you feel like you want to bend deeper, then you'll need to lengthen your stance a little bit, right? And then bring your hands to your heart. Let your gaze come on forward. Let yourself feel your shoulders over your hips. And just this simple pose, just feeling your feet equal in the floor, feeling that openness in the front of your right hip, strengthening your legs all the way up into your hips. And let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline of the body. And clasp your hands, send your pointer finger out, bend your elbows a litlittle bit, hug them in a little bit towards each other. And then maybe they can lift up and you can look up a little bit. Don't force it. If that bothers your back, stay looking forward, right? If it feels pretty good to find a little more lift in the belly, lengthen the low back and look up a bit, do. Now you can keep your elbows here bent. You can straighten your arms out. If it feels better to bring your arms forward, you can. Or you can have your upper arms by your ears if that feels fine for your shoulders. So enjoy. Warrior one, inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back. Feet equal in the floor. One more breath. And then bring your gaze back forward if it's not already. Open your arms out wide. Bring your arms on down beside you. And we're going to straighten the front knee out and turn our feet so that we're more parallel with our feet as we face the long edge of our mat. And we're going to come forward. And you all know, if you need blocks, grab your blocks for a wide-legged forward bend. And take your time. They can be out in front of you so you have a long back. And then go ahead and bend one knee at a time if that's okay for your knees, right? If that bothers your knees, don't do it. Enjoy finding your inner thighs a little bit. Good. And then come on back into center, and whether your knees are bent or straight, let them both be the same, okay? And then imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. You're pressing your feet away from each other. And think about if your inner thighs could kind of melt their way behind you, which kind of widens out your sits bones, really gets into obviously stretching into your hips and into the backs of your legs. And now you decide, you can stack blocks up and stay out so that you have a longer back, or you can fold all the way to where you let the top of the head release down towards the floor if you want. Just be mindful so that you don't feel any discomfort in your back. And allow yourself to watch your breaths now. And if you can, let yourself count when you breathe in and reach close to that same count when you breathe out. And eventually, hopefully letting your exhales get a little bit longer than your inhales. Good. One more breath. Now before you rise up, let your hands come out to do whatever you need to help yourself up, right? And feet can go closer together if you need to, too, before you rise up. And once you're there, get your feet together however you want to. Move around. If you need to shake out your feet and your ankles a little bit, do. And we're going to come to the other side. So we'll step again towards the front of the mat, and this time it'll be the left foot that steps back from warrior one. So again, how far back you step, totally up to you. Getting your shoulders around square. And if you're in a pretty short stance, this left hip pointer bone will be pretty square too. But if you're in a longer stance, it might open out a bit, all right? Don't force anything, especially in this back knee and ankle and hip. But feel really good about the turnout that you have of this back foot, so you can feel open here in the front of your left hip. Let your hands come to your heart here. Spread your fingers out. Let your connection happen there between your thumbs, each of your fingers. Good. And then we'll inhale the hands right on up and clasp them. Send the pointer finger out. Okay, so you clasp your hands the way you always do, right? Which thumb do you have on top? So undo that clasp and do your other thumb on top. And then send your pointer finger out where you feel really off kilter, right? But just for fun. Hug your elbows in a little bit. You can decide whether you want to bring your gaze up and let yourself look up a little bit more. Remember, if your arms, shoulders bother you, the arms can go forward. You can have the arms back by your ears if you choose. Feel that lift through the front of the body. And it's like a downward flow through the back, almost like there's a waterfall pouring down the back of your body. So one more breath. And then as you bring your gaze back forward, release your arms on down beside you. And we're going to turn sideways again on our mat. Feet at least a little bit wider than your shoulders. How much wider is up to you. And now, see if you can, bring your hands behind you, clasp them, and come forward. Now, you may just want to come a little bit. Keeping a long back, not even go very far, bending your knees as much as you need. You may want to come like parallel to the floor. And again, you can have your knees bent, do what feels good. And if you like folding over farther so the top of the head goes towards the ground, you can do that. And that is all up to you. Whether your arms come off your back is as well something that your shoulders will dictate. So just be where you can. Let yourself open where you can. Good. So one more breath. And then we're going to release the hands on down, whether you go to the blocks or the floor, that's up to you. And let's walk over towards the right, or shift our block towards the right. So how far you go, maybe you want to go hold on to the outside of your right ankle. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to stay in front of your foot. And from there, see if you can bring your right hand up to your right hip. And maybe just roll your shoulder up a little bit. And then come on back down with that hand. We're going to walk back through center and go to the left. Again, you may not want to go very far. You might want to shift your block just a little bit. You might want to go hold on to the outside of your foot or your ankle. And then see if wherever you are, you can put your left hand on your left hip. Whether you kind of roll that shoulder to look up towards the ceiling or not, it's up to you. And then come on back down with that hand. We're going to come on back into center. Go ahead and bend a knee at a time if you need. Some of you might even want to turn your toes out and bend a knee at a time. So if it feels kind of good to do that, you can turn out a little bit in your hips and bend one knee and then the other and get a little differently into your legs for sure, more into your inner hamstrings. And take your time, play around a bit so that when you do feel like you're on your way to setting up to be able to release in your pose, you can do so very comfortably. Use whatever support you need. Once you settle in, go right back to those breaths, just accepting, receiving your breaths in and out. Good. One more breath. And take your time to rise up. So, okay, you've been there a while. If you're a bit dizzy, just really be mindful when you come up. If you feel dizzy, take your time to bring your feet together and then put your hand on anything you need if you need for support. You know that. We're going to come into Warrior 2 with the right foot back this time. So again, have your blocks handy. If you took them around to the side, you might want to bring them back. And we're going to line up our heels. Have that right foot back, left foot forward. Bend that left knee. Take a peek at it. Make sure you're lined up there. Good. And then from there, we'll float our arms on up and out. Flex your hands for a second like we did earlier in class. And press gently into the heels of your hands and kind of admire the back of your left hand. In fact, see if you can let your hands kind of rotate a little bit. You let your fingers, it's like you're waving almost. Kind of like a parade wave of your hands. And then come on back and let your palms face down. And reach out through your fingertips. Feel the feet pressing away from each other. And let's turn our left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky into that reverse warrior, breathing into the left side of the body. And on our next exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So our left hand or forearm can be on our thigh, it can be on the chair, you can be up as high or low as you want. Adding this right arm up into line with the right side of the body is totally optional. So you are more than welcome to keep the hand down on your hip. You're more than welcome just to let yourself, adjust that top arm. And then we'll come on back into Warrior 2. Press the feet away from each other, gets us right back into that core strength. And now we're going to head towards a lunge. So we're going to bring our hands down, whatever support you like to use. Readjust that right foot to reach directly behind your foot. Really find your lunge, and we're going to add a twist here, bringing the left hand to the left hip and letting ourselves roll that left shoulder up. Now in the twist, you're more than welcome to let yourself keep your hand down, or you can stretch the left arm up if you want. So just enjoy, really find that length as you reach back into that inner right heel and out through the top of your head. Good. We're going to bring our left hand on back down, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Bend your knees pretty deeply. Let your weight shift just a little bit more to your heels, just a little bit. Lift your toes up, and make sure you don't fall backwards though. And then let your toes come on back down. And we'll press into our feet. We're going to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy your mountain pose for a breath. Feel very centered here. Really balanced, side to side, front to back. And we'll unfold our arms on down. Shake out a little bit. If you need to move around, do. We're going to do the other side. So again, having your blocks handy, stepping our left foot back this time. And again, getting that right foot about parallel to the long edge of your mat. That back foot is about parallel to the short edge, but send your heel back farther if that feels good to you. And then just take your time. Let yourself float your arms on up and out from your shoulders. Flex your hands again. Feel the undersides of the arms. Now you get to admire the back of this hand. And then again, just let your hands go a little bit, kind of like windshield wiper blades, right? Really easily feeling that movement. And then finish off back into center. Let your palms face down as you reach out easily through the fingertips. Now really feel like you're reaching out. Through the right set of fingertips, through the left. We'll turn that right palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Full breath now into the right ribs. And on your exhale, coming into your side angle where your hand or your forearm comes down onto your thigh. And adding this top arm up is totally optional. You don't have to use that left arm at all. It can stay down. It can be straight up from your shoulder if that's better for your shoulder. So if you're having shoulder things going on, just really pay attention to your own shoulder. One more breath here, really extending into the pose entirely here. And we're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And now we'll let our hands come down, and from here we're going to find our lunge. So you may want to get your blocks, you may want to have your chair. Let yourself release that left heel directly behind your foot. And we'll add that twist of right hand on up. Turning into that twist here, whether you keep your hand down or reach it up. So be mindful again. Let this really pose is such a great twist in the middle of the back, but an easy twist, right? You don't have to add the arm so that you add the shoulder. And then we'll go ahead and bring our right hand on back down. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath our hips. And again, bend your knees and shift your weight a little more to your heels. You can have your hands on blocks if that helps. Let your toes lift up. And then see if you can spread your toes out. Now, if your hands are able to help you spread your toes out or kind of massage your toes a little bit, you can. Give your toes just a little bit of massage there. And then when you're ready, allow the toes just to melt down to the ground, right? Feel the four corners of the feet into the floor. And we'll bring our hands up to our hips and bend our knees and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. Finding your mountain pose. If you need to shift around, shift around. If you need to change a little bit about how far apart your feet are, do it. But just, whether your eyes are open or closed, just feel the space around you, right? Imagine that the air around you is supporting you. So it's so easy to be here. And now you've really got a lot of energy flowing through your body. We're going to release our arms right down beside us and do whatever you need to do. Shake out, move around if you need to. We aren't going to bring our mats into a wall, but we are going to walk to a wall. And all you need is just you and a place at the wall where you can touch your left hand towards the wall. Okay? So So you can spread out. You don't need to be on anybody's mat or your mat or anybody else's. You can, Larry, if you want, you can be right here. Yeah, there you go. And from here, we're going to do a little tree pose, right? Our left hand is towards the wall, and we're going to stand on our left foot and bring our right foot in, maybe to the inside of your calf down here. Maybe you want to keep your heel on your inner ankle. You can bring the foot up above, if you want, your knee. Just make sure you're not pressing the right foot into the inside of your knee. So as you feel the foot gently coming into the inside of your leg, the inside of your leg coming back into the foot, maybe you can let go of the wall, have your hands come together to meet in front of your chest. And if you feel like you'd like to extend your arms up, you can always use the wall a little bit, as much as you need, whenever. If you start to lose balance, if you have to put your foot down, do it. Readjust. Sometimes just coming down out of tree and going back sometimes is easier than trying to fight yourself to adjust, right? So instead, you just kind of start over and play. Play a little bit. Let yourself just feel what you can here with imagining the tailbone reaching down. One more breath. And then we'll let ourselves release so that we can turn around, and we'll do the other side. So again, letting yourself, you're standing on that right foot, your left foot comes in. Again, it can be above or below the knee. You can have your toes on the floor and your heel on your inner ankle. And then just bring your gaze to a place where you can really focus. That is one of the main things. Your focus at a place where you feel like, that helps me to balance, to keep my focus on this one spot. And you know, some days are better than others for balance, so don't be too hard on yourself. Let it be fun. If it's not fun, stop doing it and come down and readjust and maybe put your foot in a different place, right? So if you need to readjust, do. Nice. And then we'll release to come on down. We're going to turn to face the wall. Bring your hands to the wall and walk back into a down dog with your hands at the wall. You can be on fists. Remember, if your wrists bother you and that extreme bend of the wrist where you're about 90 degrees at your hips is too much for your hands, come to fists. Get your feet right under your hips. So make sure your feet aren't back behind you, right? You've got your feet right under you. You're the shape of a capital printed letter L. And now let your feet come a little closer together. Maybe almost touching, actually. And then glance at your hands on the wall. Make sure your hands are shoulder distance apart. Maybe like kind of towards the outer sides of your shoulders, in fact. And think about your pointer fingers being parallel to each other if you're on your hands and not your fists. Then look back down. Let your neck release. We're going to bring the right leg up in the air and float it up behind us into a warrior three. Hug your elbows towards each other. Think of the pinky right toe facing down towards the ground. And then go ahead and bring that foot back down on the floor. Now you're going to stand on the right one and lift the left one. And it's kind of funny. You'll have a favorite leg, right? So enjoy this one. If it's not the most enjoyable, just take it for what it is. And then we're going to release and we're going to switch legs again. So bringing that right leg up, pressing equally back out of your hands. Feel the pinky toe facing towards the ground so the hips are level. Good. We're going to switch one more time. Good. And then we're going to release. And we're going to turn on around, back to the wall. And let yourself release your hips however it feels good. You can squat up like this, like just stay up and not go very deep. You can go down. You can slide down, letting your elbows come above your knees. Or you can go all the way down into a squat if you want, right? You know, if your hips and knees feel good to squat, or if you feel good to straighten your legs out and fold forward over your legs. Really, everybody's different how they need to release after this, so you be where you can. Let it feel good to your hips and your low back, whatever you choose to do there. Good. And then just make your way back up. Take your time. Let yourself rise on back up. Walk around a little bit. We're actually going to come back to our own mats though. And we're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor once we get there. So let yourself come on down. And just release and make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead. Actually, try turning your head to one side. Doesn't matter which side. Resting for a second there with your head turned to one side. And then come back and turn the other way. So all you're doing is letting yourself release. If it's really uncomfortable, don't do it. You all know that. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up to our forearms with our elbows underneath our shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And then bring your hands together. Interlace, clasp your hands there. Let your pinky finger face straight so that you're really pressing down into the outside edges of your hands. Curl your toes under if you can. And now, if possible, see if you can lift up your hips a little bit in towards a forearm plank. If you're like, yeah, no, that's not happening, go ahead and bend your knees and come into your half forearm plank. But if you don't usually do a full one, you can try it just for a breath. You can put your knees back down anytime you want. Let yourself rest in a Sphinx pose again. And then maybe you want to try again so that you can try just a little bit of using that core strength. Whether you're in a full, you can bend the knees and do the half. One more breath. And then we're going to come down. Now, we're going to try rolling. Keep your left elbow under your left shoulder and roll onto that forearm. So you're up. You're up on elbow under your shoulder. And this might be enough. Bring your knees forward so you're supported. This is shoulder work right here. You don't have to do anything more. This is like a variation of a side forearm plank. So you can decide whether you want to stay right here and just let yourself press gently down into that forearm. Maybe you want to lift up your hips a little bit. You know, you can if you want to. There are a lot of variations. You can stretch your top leg out. Lift your hips up a little bit, put the right foot on the floor, lift up a little there. Or you can stretch your bottom leg out, put your top foot on the floor in front of you, and lift up into a forearm plank, side plank there. Or none of the above, right? You can stretch your arm up too if you want, the top arm. And then we'll come on down. We are going to switch to the other side. So again, once you roll, you've got your right elbow under your shoulder, and this arm is kind of at an angle. So this right fist is kind of pointing towards the left front corner of your mat. And then you can just press down. You can stay right here, right? You are engaging your shoulder. Think about trying to release here across the top. You're finding these muscles that come under your arm here. Wrap forward, which draws this shoulder down. It's pretty amazing stuff. Once you practice it enough, you can stretch the top leg out. You can lift up your hips. Maybe that's enough. Maybe you don't even want to do that, right? You can stretch the bottom leg out, put the top foot on the floor, lift up. You can stretch your top arm up if you want. And of course, you can do a full side forearm plank if you choose to. We're going to come on back down. And from here, we're going to roll back onto our bellies again. Come into your Sphinx pose now with your palms facing down. Let your gaze be forward there between your hands. You know, if it's too much for your low back, you can slide down more with the elbows towards your waist a little more. Don't do anything that feels uncomfortable. Good. So one more breath here. And then we're going to come on back in towards pose of a child. So letting yourself bring your big toes together, knees separate as much as feels comfortable. And the hips shift back towards the heels, but only as far as your knees and hips allow. And you can stay in child's pose with your arms soft overhead. You can bend your elbows and make a little pillow with your forearms or your hands there in front of you. Or, of course, you can draw your arms back down alongside your legs. Let your palms face up. So be where you're the most comfortable to be. And then bring your breath into your low back. Feeling your low back rise and expand as you inhale. So literally feeling the breath come in to the low back. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to bring our hands back by our knees so we can come up and come on around with our legs in front of us. So if sitting on a blanket is better for you, grab yourself a blanket to sit on. Stretch your legs out and kind of shake everything out. Shift around a little bit. I actually like to do this. I like to bend my knees a little bit and roll through to the outside of like the hips. I mean, it gets up into the buttocks and releases, really nice release for the hips. And then stretch your legs on out. Let's bring our right ankle crossed either above or below our left knee. So, you know, you can decide how deeply you want that bend to be. But as you sit up nice and tall here, flex through this foot. And then just see about coming forward a little bit. You can always put your left hand on your right ball of your foot and press the ball of the foot into your hand a little bit. You don't necessarily need to come far. If you feel like you want to massage your foot a little bit, you've got your hand right there. You're more than welcome to, again, kind of give your toes a little love or move through a little bit into massaging your foot if you want to. Feel the back of that left leg, but also the opening through the right outer hip there. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up, and we're going to add a twist here. Inhaling here, and on the exhale, twisting to our right. So your left hand can come maybe around to your right knee there, maybe more to the shin. It doesn't matter. Let yourself just enjoy. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. Feel length in the back of your neck and your throat. Good. One more breath here. And then use your belly to bring you on back around into center. And we are going to switch legs. So right leg comes long. Left leg comes in, again, below or above the knee, that's up to you. Flex through the foot. And then just think about easing your way forward. Now your right heel can draw down and back towards you a little bit so you're engaged in the back of that right leg as you're stretching. And then again, you can take hold of your foot, you can massage your foot, you can do what you want. You can always do the wrapping, sending your fingers between your toes if that feels good, and letting yourself find that separation between your toes. But just be mindful. Let it feel good. Let yourself just enjoy. One more breath here. time to come on back up, remember we're going to add a twist. Inhaling here at the top. And on the exhale, we'll twist to the left, so the left hand comes behind, wherever feels good. Right hand over to where it feels comfortable for your twist. And then again, find that length in the back of your neck, the back of your throat. You know, it doesn't matter how far you turn to look back behind yourself, but, you know, maybe you kind of want to try a little bit more every once in a while. It's kind of like when you back up a car, you want to be able to see behind yourself, right? So just be mindful. One more breath. And then when you're ready to come back, let your belly draw in a little bit to bring you back around. And we'll stretch our legs on out in front of us here. Shake them out a little bit. Widen your feet out just a bit and then bring your hands behind you. Let your chest come forward. You can stay on fingertips if you'd rather, or you can go flat to your hands if that feels good to you. Just open across the chest here, whether you look forward or look up a little bit or look up even more, that's up to you. Good, and then we'll release to come on back up. We're going to bring our legs together and we are going to come down onto our backs on the floor here. So wiggle around however you need to before you do. And once you get down, bring your knees on into your chest and let the knees come side to side. Let your back release. And then keep your right knee into your chest and extend your left leg down long on the floor and flex through both your feet. Just enjoy letting the spine align itself here on the floor. If you feel the leg just gently come into your hands, you can feel that natural curve in your low back, just so that you're not forcing your low back onto the floor at all, kind of just the opposite. And then we'll bring the left knee in. We're going to extend the right leg down long. And again, just enjoy feeling the leg pressing gently into your hands and let the spine align itself. And the floor is the best place to let yourself get aligned. Good, and then we'll bring our feet both onto the floor. Separate your feet towards the outer edges of your mat. And then just let your knees come to one side. And when you're ready, they can come up through the center and go to the other. I mean, you may just want to stay on one side for a little bit, or you might want to continuously move. And those of you who like to bring your knees to the left and put your left foot to rest on the outside above your right knee there to give yourself just a little bit more, and it really does add to the sideways stretch, and it adds to really the whole right side of the body if you're on the left with your knees and you put your left foot up. It's a little added weight is all it is, right? So take your time. Let yourself just enjoy. You can keep going back and forth with your knees. You can decide that you're done with that and let your body do something else if it needs to. By all means, pay attention right now to what sounds good to you. You need to do another kind of pose or movement. Remember, we're all so completely different after a series of yoga poses. So you do want to just be mindful so that you listen to what your own body needs. You start to get lights, and then I'm going to bring stuff. We'll bring bolsters. Anybody who might want a bolster, and I'll bring blankets if anybody wants a blanket. Remember, use a blanket or a bolster here at the studio, just leave them so sanitize them and we're ready to go for the next time. Well, so, I have an inkling for a couple of people. take time and let yourself settle in, really. Feeling the ground underneath you, supporting you. Letting yourself bring your arms, your legs to a place where you feel very easy to be. So that up into your shoulders and your hips, it's easier to relax. As you just accept your breaths now. Just allowing your breath to come in and go out. Letting your awareness keep coming back to that wave of your own breath. And giving yourself the gift of these few minutes. So your body and your brain has time to benefit from all you just did. Just let yourself completely and fully relax. deepens, just let the energy start to come back now. So you imagine your fingers and toes feeling like they want to move again before they do, and then you can start to move when you're ready. Letting your extremities lead you up into your arms, your legs, however you need to move. You know, stretch if you need, or take your time. If rolling to one side feels good to you, you can come into a soft fetal position. You can even use your arm as a pillow. And rest comfortably to give your body and your brain a little time to adjust if that feels good to you. But just be easy. When you do feel like you're ready to rise up, let it feel like the next natural thing to do, really, to come to be upright again, and to let yourself get comfortable the way you're sitting so that you can just lengthen up easily up through the top of your head. Feeling your shoulders nice and wide and open. Watching your breath again. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Namaste.